On the night that should have been filled with candles, laughter, and promises, Emma discovered a secret that nearly shattered everything she believed about love. Emma Parker stood at the edge of her quiet living room, staring at the small mountain of birthday decorations she had spent the entire afternoon arranging. Twinkling lights wrapped around the fireplace. A banner with bright letters stretched above the doorway. A stack of carefully wrapped gifts sat on the table, each one chosen with more thought than the last. She had planned this night for weeks. Her husband, Daniel, deserved something unforgettable. He had been working long hours, coming home exhausted, shoulders tight with pressure from the construction firm where he served as a project manager. He rarely complained, but Emma could see the weight of it in the way he rubbed the back of his neck every evening. She wanted tonight to remind him that life held beauty, softness, and surprise. But as the clock approached 7 o'clock in the evening, Emma felt a strange flutter in her chest. A feeling she could not quite name. Not fear. Not worry. Just something unsettled. She brushed it off as nerves. Tonight was Daniel's 36th birthday. They had been married for 8 years. And even though their love had gone through storms, it had also found its way back into the sunlight every single time. Emma wanted to honor that. She checked the oven again, making sure the roast chicken was still cooking evenly. The smell filled the house, warm and comforting. She rearranged the candles on the dining table, then stepped back to admire the glow. Everything looked perfect. But then her phone buzzed. She picked it up, expecting it to be Daniel saying he was on his way. Instead, it was a text message from an unknown number. The message was short, cold, and it made her breath catch. "You should ask your husband where he really was last night." Emma blinked, confused. She read the message again. And again. Her heartbeat began to pound. She swallowed hard and forced a calm breath. It had to be a mistake. A wrong number. A prank. Daniel would never. Before she could finish the thought, a second message arrived. "Check his work bag." Her hands turned cold. She stared at the screen, unable to move. The house felt suddenly too quiet. The warm lights now seemed harsh, almost mocking. For a moment, Emma battled with reason. This could be nothing. It could be someone targeting random numbers. She should ignore it. She should wait for Daniel to come home and just enjoy his birthday night. But a quiet, unwelcome question crept into her mind. What if it wasn't nothing? She walked to the hallway where Daniel always dropped his work bag. It sat on the bench, slightly unzipped, a few papers sticking out. She hesitated. Her fingers trembled as she touched the handle. She felt guilty, as if she were about to cross a line that could not be undone. But the message echoed in her thoughts. She opened the bag slowly. Inside were the usual things: project folders, a measuring tape, a pack of gum, his notebook. Everything she had seen countless times before. Until she noticed something tucked beneath the notebook. A small velvet pouch. Dark blue. Soft. Luxurious. She pulled it out carefully. Her breath hitched when she loosened the drawstring and looked inside. A necklace. A delicate silver chain with a tiny heart-shaped pendant. Beautiful. Expensive. New. But that was not what made Emma's stomach twist. Attached to the necklace was a tiny card. "For the woman who changed my year." Emma felt the air leave her lungs. She stepped back, her hand covering her mouth as the room spun slightly. She blinked rapidly, fighting the sting behind her eyes. It felt as if the floor beneath her had shifted without warning. Daniel had never mentioned buying any gifts recently. And he certainly had not mentioned anyone changing his year. Her thoughts raced. Her chest tightened. Who was the woman? Why had he hidden the necklace? And why tonight, of all nights, was she discovering this? Emma placed the necklace on the table, staring at it as though it might offer an explanation. She replayed the past few months in her mind. Daniel had been tired, distant sometimes. But she had assumed it was stress, deadlines, the pressure of winter projects. She had trusted him. Completely. But now trust felt fragile. When she heard the sound of Daniel's car pulling into the driveway, Emma's pulse quickened. The headlights swept across the curtains. The familiar engine noise settled. The front door clicked open. "Emma." Daniel's voice called gently. "Hey, love. Sorry I'm a little late." She stood frozen in the living room, unable to speak. Daniel stepped inside, brushing snow from his jacket. His face brightened when he saw the decorations. "You did all this. It looks beautiful." Emma forced a small smile, but her heart was unsteady. She watched his expression, searching for a sign of guilt. But all she saw was warmth. Familiar warmth. The same tenderness she had known for years. And that only confused her more. "Happy birthday," she whispered. He crossed the room and kissed her forehead. "Thank you. I can't wait to see what you've planned." She swallowed hard. "There's something we need to talk about." Daniel paused, his smile fading just a bit. "Everything okay?" Emma hesitated. The necklace sat behind her on the table, hidden from his view. The velvet pouch glimmered faintly under the soft lights. She wanted to ask him. She wanted to demand an explanation. But she also wanted to believe that there was one. A good one. A harmless one. Because tonight was supposed to be a celebration. Not a moment that cracked their marriage open. Emma took a slow breath, her heart aching with uncertainty. And then she turned to face Daniel fully. "First," she said quietly, "sit down. I need to gather my thoughts." Daniel nodded slowly, concern deepening in his eyes. He pulled out a chair at the dining table and waited. Emma stepped away for a moment, her mind spinning. She could feel the weight of the decision pressing on her chest. Tell him now and risk breaking the night apart. Or wait a little longer, hoping for clarity. Her eyes drifted once more to the velvet pouch. She knew the night was no longer simple. It had already changed. And when she finally walked back toward the table, her voice shook just a little. Because she knew that whatever happened next, nothing would ever be quite the same again. Emma stood at the end of the dining table, her fingers pressed lightly against the back of a chair. She tried to steady her breathing, but every inhale felt thin, uncertain. Candlelight flickered across Daniel's face as he watched her quietly, concern gathering in the lines around his eyes. She had seen that look many times before. When her mother fell sick. When she lost her job at the art studio. When they struggled through their first rough year of marriage. Daniel always looked at her with the same softness. The same patience. Tonight, that softness only made the ache sharper. "I didn't want tonight to start like this," Emma said, keeping her voice calm, steady. "I planned something beautiful for you. Something happy." Daniel leaned forward, resting his forearms on the table. "Hey. Whatever it is, we'll handle it. You know that." She wished she believed that. Emma reached for the necklace on the table. The velvet pouch seemed heavier now, loaded with meaning she wasn't ready to claim. "I found this in your work bag." Daniel's brow furrowed slightly. "My work bag." She opened the pouch and let the silver chain slide onto her palm. The heart-shaped pendant glimmered under the warm lights. She didn't hand it to him, she simply held it, watching his face carefully. Daniel stared for a moment, confusion flashing across his features. Real confusion. Not the kind someone rehearses. Emma searched his eyes, wanting to find the truth in them. Before he could speak, she added quietly, "There was a card with it. It said, 'For the woman who changed my year.'" Daniel inhaled slowly, his expression shifting not to guilt, not to panic, but to something else. A mix of surprise and a strain she couldn't yet name. "Emma," he said gently, "I can explain." Her heart lurched painfully at those words. The last time she heard someone say them was when her father confessed he was leaving their family. She remembered the weight of that moment. How the explanation hurt more than the silence. She stepped back just slightly. "Then explain." Daniel didn't reach for her. He didn't reach for the necklace. He simply sat still, his eyes locked on hers. "Before I say anything," he began, "I need you to trust that I would never betray you. Not ever. Trust." The word tasted fragile. Emma nodded, though a part of her was bracing itself. Daniel exhaled. "The necklace isn't for another woman. And the message isn't what it sounds like." Emma blinked, unsure if she should feel relief or irritation at the vagueness. "Who is it for, then?" she asked softly. Daniel hesitated. Too long. Her breath caught again, that same unsettling flutter rising in her chest. It's for someone you don't know, Daniel finally said. Someone I met on a worksite months ago. Someone who was going through something difficult. Emma stiffened. A woman. Yes, he admitted. But not in the way you're thinking. She knew Daniel. He was compassionate. He always helped people. But a necklace? A heart-shaped pendant? A message like that? It didn't add up. Her name is Lily, he continued. She's a single mom. Her little boy is sick. Really sick. I didn't tell you because she asked me not to. She was embarrassed. She didn't want pity, and she didn't want attention. But she needed help. Emma tried to process his words, but her mind spun faster than she could grasp each thought. You bought her jewelry, she asked. Daniel shook his head. It was her first birthday since her son was diagnosed. She was working double shifts, barely holding on. I saw how broken she looked one day. I didn't know what else to do. I thought something small might remind her that the world still had good in it. Emma felt a sting behind her eyes, not from hurt now, but from confusion. Daniel rubbed his forehead. I wrote that message because she told me that my kindness changed her year. Those were her words. But I never meant for it to seem like this. Emma closed her hand slowly around the necklace. Her heart was still unsteady, but Daniel's explanation softened some of the sharp edges. She didn't know whether to feel relieved or overwhelmed. But before she could respond, he added quietly, I should have told you. I know that. I just didn't want you to worry or misunderstand. A hollow feeling formed in her chest. But I am worried. And I do misunderstand. Daniel looked down, remorse clouding his face. Emma moved to the window, staring out at the quiet street. Snow drifted in soft patterns beneath the porch light. Everything outside seemed peaceful, still, simple. But inside her heart, nothing felt simple anymore. She resisted the urge to cry. Not out of anger. Out of fear of what this moment meant for them. You've always told me everything, she said softly. Even the things you thought might upset me. Why did you hide this? Why keep it in your work bag? Why not give it to her already? Daniel paused before answering. Because. I wasn't sure anymore. She turned to him slowly. Not sure about what? His voice lowered. I wasn't sure she should have it. I wasn't sure it was appropriate. I wasn't sure what it meant that I cared that much about helping a stranger. I wasn't sure what you'd think of me. Emma's breath hitched. This wasn't about betrayal. This was about a man who felt deeply, who tried to help someone in pain, who didn't know how to explain that without sounding like his heart had wandered. But Daniel's heart hadn't wandered. She could see that clearly now. Yet the ache remained, because secrets, even good ones, leave shadows. She walked back toward the table and set the necklace down again. Daniel. I'm not angry. But I am hurt. I feel like you carried something alone that you should have shared with me. He looked up, eyes shining with regret. I know. And I'm sorry. Emma pressed her fingers lightly against the pendant. The tiny heart felt cold. Do you still want to give this to her? She asked. Daniel hesitated again. This time she could see the truth on his face. He didn't know. And that uncertainty settled between them like a quiet storm. Emma took a slow breath, her voice barely above a whisper. I just need to understand what this means. For her. For you. For us. Daniel stood slowly, his chair scraping softly against the floor. He took one step toward her, then stopped, not wanting to crowd her. Emma, he said quietly, you're the only woman I love. The only woman I choose. Every day. Every moment. That hasn't changed. She wanted to believe him. Part of her already did. But another part needed time, needed clarity, needed to find her footing again. Her eyes drifted toward the dining table, toward the untouched dinner she had spent hours preparing. The candles that now felt too bright. The decorations she had hoped would bring joy. Tonight was supposed to be a celebration. But now it was something else entirely. Let's sit, Daniel said gently. Let's talk. All of it. No more secrets. Emma nodded slowly, though her heart still trembled. Because she knew that whatever came next would test them in ways she hadn't expected. And as she lowered herself into the chair opposite him, the smallest hint of fear pressed against her ribs. Fear of the truth. Fear of the unknown. Fear of what she might hear next. Emma folded her hands on the table, her fingers lacing and unlacing as though her mind could not decide whether to hold on or let go. The candles flickered between them, throwing soft shadows across Daniel's face. He looked tired. Not physically, but in that deeper way a person looks when they're carrying more than they know how to explain. She gave him a moment. He took it. Finally, Daniel exhaled slowly. "There's more I should tell you." Emma's stomach tightened. "Okay." Daniel rubbed his palms together, grounding himself. "I didn't meet Lily by accident. I mean, we crossed paths on a site, but, the day I really talked to her, I saw her sitting alone outside a clinic. She looked like she'd been crying for hours." Emma felt her breath catch. She knew that kind of pain. She knew what it felt like to hold fear in silence. "I asked if she needed help," Daniel continued. "Not because she was a woman. Not because I wanted something from her. I just couldn't walk past someone who looked that lost." Emma nodded slowly. That sounded like him. The man who once pulled over to help an elderly stranger change a tire. The man who once brought home a stray dog because he couldn't leave it wandering in the cold. Daniel's heart had always been his strongest and sometimes most complicated trait. "What happened after that?" she asked. Daniel leaned back, eyes dropping to the table. "She told me her son, Jeremy, was diagnosed with a heart condition. Something serious. She didn't have insurance that covered everything. She was working early mornings and late nights. She said she felt like she was failing him." Emma's throat tightened, imagining the weight of that. She would never judge a mother in that position. She would never judge anyone trying to hold their world together with shaking hands. "And you helped her," Emma said quietly. "I tried," Daniel said. "Sometimes I brought her food when she didn't have time to cook. Sometimes I watched her boy in the waiting room while she filled out papers. I didn't think of it as a secret. I wasn't hiding her. But when she thanked me, when she cried, I didn't know how to bring that home to you without sounding like I was stepping somewhere I shouldn't." A soft ache formed in Emma's chest. She understood the fear of being misunderstood. She understood hesitation. But she still wished he had trusted her with the truth. "And the necklace?" she asked again, her voice gentle but steady. Daniel looked toward it, the tiny silver heart glowing faintly under candlelight. "It felt like a mistake the moment I bought it. Not because it was wrong, but because it wasn't the right way to help her. She didn't need jewelry. She needed support. Hope. Stability." Emma swallowed. "Then why keep it?" He hesitated. "Because I couldn't decide if giving it to her would confuse things, or if returning it would make me feel guilty for backing away." Emma drew a slow, shaky breath. Everything inside her felt tangled: love, fear, uncertainty, and something else she wasn't ready to name. Silence settled between them. Not cold. Not angry. Just heavy. Finally, Daniel spoke again. "I'm sorry I didn't tell you. I should have trusted you with all of this. I just didn't want you to think there was something between us." Emma looked up at him, eyes softer now. "And is there?" His answer came without hesitation. "No. Absolutely not. I care about what she's going through, yes. But I'm not emotionally tied to her. I'm not drawn to her. She's not you. She's not us." Emma studied him carefully, reading every line of his face. Truth lived there. She could feel it. But so did regret. And fear. And a kind of weary honesty that only appears when someone has reached the edge of what they can hide. She reached out gently, touching the pendant again. "Then what do you want to do with this?" Daniel exhaled. "I don't know. I only know I want to fix what this has done to us." Emma's gaze softened. She could feel something shifting, slowly, cautiously, inside her chest. Not forgiveness yet. But possibility. Still, there was something she hadn't told him. Something she had been carrying alone, too. "Daniel," she said softly, "there's something I need to say." He lifted his head, alert, concerned. Emma hesitated. Her heart trembled. A different secret pressed against her ribs, one she hadn't planned to reveal tonight. I got a message earlier, she whispered. Before you came home. Daniel blinked. A message? From someone I don't know. They told me to check your work bag. He sat up straighter, his expression shifting from confusion to concern to something sharper. What? Who? Emma shook her head. I don't know. They didn't say their name. Just that. Daniel's jaw tightened. Someone wanted you to find the necklace. Yes. He leaned back, absorbing that. A flicker of something worry, suspicion, crossed his eyes. That means someone else knew about it, he said. Someone who wanted this to blow up. Emma nodded slowly. Her breath grew shallow. She hadn't wanted to consider that part. She hadn't wanted to imagine someone watching, someone waiting to stir trouble. Daniel rubbed the side of his face. Who would do that? Why would they even know what's in my work bag? Emma felt the air grow colder, despite the warmth in the room. The puzzle was no longer simple. The necklace was only one piece. The messages were something else entirely. Daniel leaned forward. Emma, can I see the messages? She handed him her phone. He read in silence, his expression tightening with every line. This isn't right, he said, voice low. Someone's messing with us. Emma felt a chill run through her. Do you think it's someone from work? He didn't answer right away. Instead, he closed his eyes briefly, thinking. Searching. Digging through memory. Then he whispered, almost reluctantly, there is one person who might know. Someone who saw more than they should have. Emma's pulse quickened. Who? Daniel looked at her with a seriousness that made her breath catch. Someone who's been angry with me for months. Emma felt the room tilt slightly. Daniel, who are you talking about? His voice dropped. Mark. Emma's heart lurched. Daniel's co-worker. The one he mentioned sometimes, the one who felt overlooked after Daniel got promoted. A new tension settled between them. Because suddenly, this wasn't just about a necklace. Something larger was moving beneath the surface. And Emma could feel it. Daniel, she whispered, why would Mark want to hurt us? Daniel's answer came soft, but certain. Because he thinks I ruined his life. Emma stared at him, the air thinning around her. A new fear bloomed quietly inside her. The kind that didn't come from secrets of the heart, but from the shadows of someone else's intentions. And the night, already fragile, grew heavier still. Emma felt the room tilt gently, as though the floor itself had shifted under her feet. Mark. The name echoed through her mind, bringing with it every vague detail Daniel had ever mentioned, small frustrations, tense moments on job sites, clipped comments over late dinners. She had never imagined he could be part of something like this. Daniel rested his elbows on his knees and rubbed the back of his neck, the same way he always did when something heavy pressed on him. I didn't want to bring his name into tonight, he said quietly. But if someone sent those messages, he's the only person who makes any sense. Emma leaned forward slightly, her voice low. Tell me everything, Daniel. No holding back this time. He nodded. He's been upset ever since I got the promotion last spring. We used to be close, well, as close as co-workers get. We grabbed lunch sometimes. We worked the same sites. He thought he was next in line for project manager, but the company chose me instead. Emma listened, hands clasped in front of her. She could see the strain in Daniel's shoulders, the way his voice carried a mixture of frustration and sadness. He didn't take it well, Daniel continued. At first he brushed it off, acted like he was happy for me. But over time, something shifted. He started giving me the cold shoulder. Made small comments. Nothing bold, just enough to notice. Emma nodded. But does that explain this? She gestured toward the necklace, then the phone. Why target us? Why get involved in something so personal? Daniel sighed. That's the part one don't fully understand. But one day, about 2 months ago, he saw Lily talking to me outside the site. She was upset that day. She'd gotten another call about her son's treatment costs. He paused, voice tightening. I stayed with her until she calmed down. Mark passed by and saw us. He didn't say anything, didn't ask questions, but his look said plenty. Emma absorbed his words slowly. So he thought something was happening between you and her? Yes. Daniel nodded grimly. And a few days later, I overheard him telling someone else that people in leadership shouldn't get distracted. I didn't think he meant much by it at the time. I figured he was blowing off steam. But now, Emma whispered, now it makes sense. Daniel met her eyes. Someone had to know I bought that necklace. Someone had to know where it was. Someone had to know when to send those messages. Mark is the only one with access to the site office. He could have seen the bag. He could have seen the receipt. Emma felt her heartbeat quicken. Do you think he wanted to cause trouble between us? Daniel hesitated before answering. I think he wanted to make me look irresponsible. Distracted. Maybe even unprofessional. Getting me caught up in drama at home could throw off my focus at work. And if I start falling apart, he thinks he'll get another shot at the position. Emma steadied herself with a slow inhale. This was no longer about a necklace. Or a misunderstanding. This was something colder, an intentional attempt to plant doubt, to fracture trust, to unsettle a marriage from the inside out. Why would he go this far? She asked softly. Daniel shook his head. Anger does strange things to people. And jealousy, even worse. Emma pressed a hand gently against her throat, trying to ease the tightness there. She looked at the candles, the untouched dinner, the decorations she hung with such excitement. The night had been meant to celebrate Daniel. Instead, it had unraveled piece by piece, revealing threads she never knew existed. Daniel watched her carefully. I hate that tonight has turned into this. I hate that I put us in a position where someone else could twist something good into something ugly. Emma looked up, eyes softening. You didn't do this, Daniel. Trying to help someone isn't wrong. But hiding it, that's what made space for someone else to step in. Daniel lowered his gaze, accepting her honesty without defense. Emma reached across the table and laid her hand over his. We can fix this. But I need you to be honest with me. Completely honest. No more secrets. No more hoping hard conversations will magically disappear. Daniel squeezed her hand gently. I promise. The vow lingered in the air, quiet, sincere, raw. Emma glanced at the necklace again. What do we do about this? About her? About everything? Daniel paused, choosing his words with care. I think. I need to talk to her. Explain that what I meant to be support is being twisted into something else. And then I need to step back. Not because she doesn't deserve help, but because our marriage comes first. Something inside Emma softened. Fully this time. She nodded. I agree. Daniel looked relieved. Almost lighter. We'll go together if you want. I want you to meet her. I want there to be transparency. No shadows. Emma considered it. She didn't want to intrude on someone else's pain. But she also didn't want to live in fear or uncertainty. Maybe that's a good idea. At least once. Daniel nodded. The silence that followed felt different now, gentler, steadier, less sharp around the edges. Emma rose from her seat and walked toward the kitchen. Dinner's getting cold, she said quietly. Let's at least try to eat something. Daniel followed her slowly, his steps careful, as if he didn't want to break the fragile peace settling between them. But just as they began to sit down, Emma's phone buzzed again. She froze. Daniel froze. Emma reached for the phone with trembling fingers. Another message. No name. No introduction. Just one line. He's not telling you everything. Emma's chest tightened, a tremor running through her. She looked at Daniel. Daniel looked back at her, eyes wide with confusion and something close to fear. Then the screen lit up again. Ask him what really happened on Tuesday night. Emma felt the room blur for a moment. Tuesday night. She knew exactly what night that was. Daniel swallowed hard, his voice barely above a whisper. Emma. I need you to listen carefully. Her heart pounded once, hard. Daniel, she said faintly, what happened on Tuesday night? He closed his eyes. Then he opened them slowly, filled with something she couldn't read. Something I didn't want to burden you with, he said. And something even I'm still trying to understand. The air tightened around them, stretching thin. A new truth waited, unseen. A new fracture. A new fear. And Emma could feel it coming like a quiet storm rolling over the horizon. Emma's breath felt shallow as she held the phone in her trembling hand. The message glowed on the screen like a warning, sharp and cold. Ask him what really happened on Tuesday night. Tuesday night. The words echoed in her mind, dragging her back to the moment she noticed Daniel came home later than usual. He'd said he was finishing paperwork at the office. She hadn't questioned it then. Now she wished she had. Daniel stood across from her, shoulders drawn tight, eyes clouded with something heavy. Not guilt, not exactly. More like dread. A truth he'd carried alone. Emma, he said softly, please sit. I need to explain this right. She didn't sit. She couldn't. Not yet. Her heart was pounding too loudly. Just tell me, she said. I need to hear it. Daniel inhaled slowly, bracing himself. Tuesday night, something happened with Lily's little boy. Jeremy. Emma blinked, thrown by the unexpected direction. Jeremy? Daniel nodded. He had a sudden episode. His heart rate spiked, and Lily called me because she couldn't reach anyone else. She was terrified. She didn't know what to do. Emma's chest loosened slightly, but only slightly. Why didn't she call an ambulance? Or another family member? She did, Daniel said, voice steady but strained. But she was alone. Truly alone. I was the only person who knew the details of Jeremy's condition. The only person who had gone to the appointments with them. The only one she trusted not to judge her. Emma absorbed this slowly. It wasn't betrayal. It wasn't romance. It was two people dealing with something overwhelming and real. But why didn't you tell me afterward? She asked quietly. Daniel pressed a hand against the table, grounding himself. Because it was a mess. The hospital staff questioned her insurance. She had a breakdown in the waiting room. I stayed with her until well past midnight. And when I finally left, I didn't know how to come home and explain that to you without sounding like I was choosing her problems over our life. Emma swallowed hard. The hurt remained, but it shifted into a different shape now. Something more like sadness than suspicion. You should have told me, she whispered. Daniel nodded, his voice barely audible. I know. I just didn't want you to think I was hiding her because she meant something she didn't. Silence settled in the room, soft and trembling. Emma finally sat down, her hands folded tightly in her lap. So why is someone sending these messages? Why now? And how do they know what happened Tuesday night? Daniel stared at the floor for a long moment. Because someone else saw me at the hospital. Emma's breath caught. Mark. Or someone he talked to, Daniel said. The site is full of rumors. And if Mark wanted to twist things, if he already thought there was something inappropriate happening, he could have used Tuesday night to make it look worse. Emma felt a slow chill creep down her spine. Not fear for their marriage this time, but fear of how far someone might go to sabotage a person they resented. So the messages were meant to destroy your job, she said softly. And us. Daniel lifted his gaze. I think so. Or at least to shake my stability enough that the promotion would look undeserved. Emma exhaled. Finally, she understood. This wasn't a love triangle. It wasn't betrayal. It wasn't hidden romance or emotional cheating. It was a collision of compassion, secrecy, and someone else's bitterness. Daniel stepped closer to her, his voice thick. Emma, I am so sorry. I should have trusted you with all of this from the start. I should have never handled it alone. Not because helping someone was wrong, but because hiding it from you gave someone else room to twist everything. Emma looked up at him. She saw the man she married. Honest, flawed, loving, and deeply human. She reached for his hand, her touch gentle. I'm not angry. I'm hurt. But I understand now. And I don't want us to let someone else decide what our marriage is. Daniel closed his eyes, relief breaking across his features. He squeezed her hand, holding it with both of his. I don't want secrets anymore, she said softly. Not from you. Not about anyone. Even if it's painful. Even if it's messy. Daniel nodded. I promise. No more secrets. Ever. Emma took a slow, steady breath. The air felt lighter now, though still tender with everything they'd uncovered. What about the necklace? She asked. Daniel looked at it thoughtfully. It doesn't go to Lily. Not now. Not ever. It was the wrong gift for the wrong reason. We'll return it tomorrow. Together. Emma nodded gently. And what about Mark? She asked. Daniel's gaze hardened, not with anger, but with clarity. I'll talk to HR. I'll explain everything. The truth. Whatever fallout comes, I'll deal with it. But I won't let him play with our life like this. Emma felt something warm bloom in her chest, trust rebuilding itself, piece by piece. They stood there for a moment, just holding hands in the quiet glow of the candles. The dining room felt different now, not broken, but healing. Not ruined, but honest. Finally, Emma offered a small, fragile smile. This wasn't the birthday night I planned. Daniel laughed softly, just a breath of a laugh, but real. No. But it might be the night that saved us. Emma stepped closer and rested her forehead gently against his. Happy birthday, Daniel. He wrapped his arms around her, holding her with a kind of tenderness that felt deeper than anything gifts or decorations could offer. Thank you, he whispered. The tension between them eased as they sat down to finally share dinner, cold now, but warm in all the ways that mattered. They talked for hours. Not about Mark, or Lily, or the messages, but about themselves. Their fears. Their hopes. The things they'd avoided. The things they promised to face together from now on. And when the night ended, it ended not in fear, but in quiet understanding. A marriage, bruised but unbroken. A love tested but strengthened. Two people choosing each other again, fully, honestly, completely. The gift Daniel never expected wasn't wrapped on the table. It was Emma's patience. Her strength. Her willingness to stay in the storm and reach for him anyway. And that, he knew, was the greatest gift he would ever receive.